It's the Al Travis Show. Couldn't be happier to have our next guest on. Good friend of the program, Congressman Tom Emmer. Congressman, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Al. Great to be with you. Hope you and your family had an amazing Independence Day holiday.
Absolutely did. And, of course, prayers are going out for the tragedy and what happened down in Texas while the rest of us were celebrating, having a good time. I don't get a lot of time with you, so I'd like to hit you with the hard stuff right away, if I may. Maybe you've heard that Donald Trump tends to oversell stuff. The big, beautiful bill, right? And I get it. It's the thing everybody wanted. It's everything we wanted. And I get it. And then it comes out, and of course you're going to have the left tell you there'll be children dying in the streets. And I mean, okay. But I listen to my conservative friends and myself as well, thinking we just don't think it went far enough. Can you sell me the big, beautiful bill? Was it all that big and beautiful? What can I expect as a conservative in the next 6 months because of it?
Well, on that side of it, here's the issue: we're not done. You've got to make it clear to everybody that we're not done. Second, Al,
okay.
I'm going to be a little different. This idea that we're blowing a hole in the deficit, right? Now, deficit is budget. Yep. Debt is this awesome debt that has to be paid off. The argument is, well, this bill is going to blow the deficit by $4 to $4.5 trillion.
Yeah.
What people need to understand is our government was banking on $4.5 trillion in tax increases effective January 1st of 2026. And this goes back to the 1980s when Ronald Reagan said, when we cut 50% of your budget increase, it doesn't mean we cut your budget. You're still up 50%. These guys, right. And then they try to tell you the CBO has all these crooked numbers, which it's amazing. Let's just go back to 2017 when they said the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, when it was first being passed, was going to cost us $1.5 trillion. Well, Al, they were only off by $1.5 trillion. So I think we're in a good place, but our those that support us who are saying, I want more, understand your president's in the same place. The president has made it clear. The opposition party does not have a leader and they don't have a message. We are going to not give them anything to run on. We're going to put ourselves in a position to win in the midterms.
Well, let me
finish the work.
Okay, super. And that makes me very happy. And I would also say that, the other side's telling you it's the biggest tax break for rich people ever. And it's like, wait a minute. As far as I understand, it just kept where we're at. It didn't cut anybody. We didn't go higher. We just stayed where we're at. Is that okay?
Tax policy has been the same for the last 7 years, and it's going to continue.
Okay, so that's fine. So let me ask you this then: in Minnesota, when the left got all three legs of the stools of the leg of the chair, when they got it, they passed. I mean, you couldn't turn your head without another liberal agenda being passed. I think some of us thought that would happen on the U.S. side of things, at the Capitol level, because you guys have all three legs of the chair. Is it because Republicans don't necessarily walk in lockstep that how do I put this? You did a remarkable job to get that over the finish line because there's so many that were saying, I need this or I need this. It's not an easy job, but I think if Republicans thought, now we got it. Everything the Republicans want to just put the wish list down and go.
Well, you actually don't at the federal level. And I mean, and I'll explain that. But first, the comparison between Minnesota and the feds doesn't work in this one case. I mean, in that case, You're right. They had all three. They were able to pass it through the House, the Senate. They blew through $18 to $19 billion in surplus. They put our state on, which, probably makes sense because Tim Walz, it cost you about $500 million to prepare him to talk to people about stuff. I mean, Tammy Walz, I should say, Governor Tammy Walz. At the Senate or at the federal level, the difference is, Al, we still, outside of reconciliation, we still need 7 Democrats in the Senate if we're going to pass any of this stuff. So, I mean, we need to fix the federal election laws. We need to have same-day voting. We need to have proof of citizenship and voter ID. We supposedly can do that for federal elections without harming the state-based election system that we have. but we can't get 7 Democrats in the Senate to vote for it. So this is the challenge we're going to have. That's why reconciliation was so big. You remember back in 2017, I think there were 2 or 4 committees that wrote that bill.
Yes.
You realize in the House there were 11 committees of jurisdiction that wrote a piece of that bill. There has never been anything quite like this. And I'll also add, because I think your listeners should keep this in mind, when Obamacare was passed, when the Inflation Reduction Act, which is inappropriately named, was passed, they were both extremely popular with the public. 6 to 12 months later, serious buyer's remorse on both of them. Now, the reason they were seriously popular is because the left-wing media promotes all this stuff as though it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then people realize 6 to 12 months later, this is making my life more difficult, and they don't like it. This one, they have attacked it from the second we put it out there, and they're doing it right now with all kinds of misinformation and a press that will not actually report in a balanced fashion. This bill, if you polled specific things, it's not going to have the popularity of Obamacare or the IRA when those passed initially. But you know what's going to be different now? A year from now, there ain't going to be buyer's remorse on this one. People are going to love it.
Well, let me ask you this, because the intricacies, that's your job. Donald Trump tends to always grab an issue that's 80-20. He takes the 80 side, and then the other side's trapped, right, and trying to argue with him on the 20 side. Why not bill after bill after bill independently throw them up there? So then the Democrats, those 7 that are wandering, and say, I really have to stick up for, I don't know, men and women's locker rooms, or whatever the issue would be. Why not slap them with one where they just can't hide and say, this is who I am?
Well, we already have done some of that. You brought up one. Biological males cannot participate in female sports. There are others. This is the argument, by the way, that literally reconciliation sucked all the air out of the room for the last 5 or 6 weeks. But these were some of the executive orders that we had already started to put on the floor.
Okay.
And of course, every Democrat over in the Senate voted against stopping biological men from competing and injuring biological women. So it will continue now. The next big thing for us in Congress is going to be the 26 appropriations bills. I think you're looking at a continuing resolution, again, much like the one that we did for 2025, because they got the money in the reconciliation bill for the border. They got the money in the reconciliation bill for defense. They did the things they needed to in the reconciliation bill. So I think the administration, because they're going to have to pay too much to the 7 Democrats in the Senate, because appropriations can't be done by reconciliation. Yeah. So even though they covered a lot of it, they even covered some of the farm bill in the reconciliation bill that just went through. You can't cover it all. So I don't be surprised if the administration, and I don't know this yet, but I'm just looking at where we're headed. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they don't push for a continuing resolution for the 26 budget, much like we just did for the 25. And then that's where Mike Johnson talks about possibly doing another reconciliation bill, which ultimately won't be his call. It'll be the White House saying that they want it. But in the meantime, I gave you all that context.
Yes.
You're going to see, I believe, more of these executive orders that literally are going to pass the House, be sent over to the Senate, and it's going to have to force these senators to show the public exactly who they are.
All right. So in all of that context, what is it that you can share is the next thing we think? Donald Trump's been on a winning streak. Courts are now coming his way. He's on a winning streak. What is it we think's the next big win for Trump, right-wingers, the conservative party, whatever you want to call them? What's the next big win?
Peace. I mean, it's not even in the halls of Congress. It's going to be getting a lasting peace in the Middle East, hopefully without the current leadership of the Iranian government. It's going to be about, you've seen him tacked differently towards Putin in the last few days.
Yeah.
I think he's become very frustrated with that, and he's changed his approach. I think that will be the next great thing. Look, that attack that destroyed the nuclear capacity of Iran, First off, hats off to our
Wow.
military
Yeah.
men and women in this country. Second, I think doing it from Missouri, flying those B-52s from Missouri to places that we were told they could never get to,
Yeah.
and literally conducting a Top Gun type movie scenario. That was, some would say, a middle finger to Putin and Xi and
All.
the
Yeah.
Ayatollah, that we can do this anytime, anywhere. And by the way, for those of us that are conservative and believe that you don't withdraw from the world, the president's not withdrawing. He just completed the mission, and we didn't have
Yeah.
any boots on the ground. We don't have
Yeah.
any of that. I think peace is the next big thing because the message has
Love
been
that.
sent, and I'm. This is why Netanyahu has actually nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize.
They'll ignore him on that, which is too bad. But the other thing you guys did, which I think backed it up, is as soon as that got done, you passed this big, beautiful bill, which puts more money into defense. And now they're going, they can do this, and they're going to spend more money. I got to think it's just scared the world out of them and say that's how peace through strength works. One last question for you before I let you go. Elon Musk became a darling. Everybody loved the guy. He's doing the work of the people, doing it for nothing and all this. And now his conversation is, what if I start the American Party? Who's in? And I don't know how many emails I get. Does he do that at the risk of actually ruining what we've got so far as does it divide the Republican Party? What does it do? Your thoughts on the big American Party by Elon?
Well, first off, I'm not. Elon is a guy that I have incredible respect for. The man is brilliant. There's no question. But when it comes to politics, clearly he is not as brilliant with politics as he is with technology. And I get it. I mean, he's shown us over the last several weeks that he can be an emotional animal too. And I think a lot of us see this emotion right in our country every day. People are on one side of an issue,
Yeah.
people are on another, and the emotions skyrocket. Most people, I would say, and I could be wrong about this, we'll see, but I don't think most people care. I mean, it really comes down to, is your government that we have installed, is it performing so that my life is better? And I'm telling you, a year from now, I believe that Americans are all going to be like, well, what was all the complaining about? This is great, right? And when that happens, I think Elon is going to be there too. I think Elon has had great success, not just because of his brains, but because of his involvement in the United States of America and the opportunities that are here. And I praise him for that, and I believe ultimately he's a value add no matter what.
Fair enough. Could it be a way of helping you out in your job specifically as the whip? If he decides to get involved in 2026 and primary some people that maybe didn't go along with this bill that fought you guys all the way, is that necessarily a bad thing for you if you get people more to the right, if that's what he wants for his American Party, and it becomes another section of the Republican Party, the far right or the far conservative? Would that hurt you that bad?
Well, the way I look at it is money is money. Money does
Yeah.
make a difference, but at the end of the day, I've run the campaigns nationally for 4 out of the last 6 years, and
Yeah.
I've never stepped away from it, as you know, because you need to win in order to be in the majority and govern. And I don't like being in the minority because I think that doesn't work for America. I think our ideas are better than theirs, and that's why we have to win. This is the key, though. If somebody has a big bankroll and they say, well, I'm just going to primary all these people, what you're missing is the candidate is what matters.
No.
It's not about, oh, I'm going to see an opportunity and I'm going to be America first. No, no. Donald Trump still is the biggest hammer there is in American politics. He might be the biggest hammer there is
Ever.
around the world. I think the leader down in Brazil might find out soon that you don't want to step on that train track, right? But Elon, again, I think Elon is. I think he just got all spun up. This became very personal. And at the end of the day, I think Elon and Trump and the rest of us agree on more than we disagree on. So, you got to it's kind of like our members who tell me, no, never, I will not. And then they do,
And then they do.
right?
Okay.
You got to work through the emotions.
All right. One last, Chris, real quick question. If the big, beautiful bill does all that you say, and, a year from now, everything's sliding along, everybody's loving life, can you turn the tide from that mid-season burn, that the people in charge, they missed that midterm? Can you do that, Tom?
Yeah, people don't know that in 2018, when Republicans lost the majority during Trump's first midterm, we were defending 23 of our members who were in districts that Hillary Clinton had won in the 2016 election. This time, Democrats are defending 13 of their members who are in seats that Donald Trump won in the last election. A completely different scenario than what we saw in 2018. And again, it's going to be a year from now. Is the economy performing so that people have hope for their future and they feel prosperous? Do we have peace and security? Those are going to be the biggest issues. They always are. I believe we're going to be there, Al, and I believe we will defy history and hold the majority.
Congressman Tom Emmer, I love having you on the program. I thank you for taking the time to be here with us. Always answer our questions. Thank you. I appreciate you a ton.
Good to be with you, Al. We got to burn that agricultural product one of these days soon.
Oh, we will absolutely do that. Be right back with more right after this with Congressman Tom Emmer.